Yes, you have read the title correctly, but I want to preface this video by saying something which is the truth. Work will be an important part of your life. It'll always be something that you strive towards if you are a masculine man. It won't be something that you hate and you dislike. It'll be something where you can bring out the best in you. Work is genuinely one of the funnest things you can do if you have work that you're actually passionate about as a man. If it is aligned with your purpose, it is one of the most fun things you can do in your day. I also believe that as a young man, you should work relentlessly hard. Once you've found that thing that you want to put time into, that purposeful task, you should be spending several hours of the day grinding, getting that business off the ground, getting that social media platform off the ground, anything that you're trying to create. You should be spending several hours getting it done and getting it off the ground. This thing will be your priority for months, years, a couple of years. This will be your thing. This will be the thing that you put the most energy, the most effort, the most time into. Of course, you'll have other things that you'll find important in your life: fitness, social life, studying, school grades. But this is the priority. This is the thing that you put above everything else. That means if you come home and you haven't done anything in your day, this is the thing that you do. This is the thing that comes first. That is what priority means by definition. It comes first. But we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. We need to develop a different way of seeing career in order to make it far more enjoyable and valuable for us, something that we're actually passionate about. If you've read Atomic Habits, you might have seen this before. Basically, there's a process for forming habits that also applies to your career. There's two ways of forming habits. There is the way where you focus on the outcome, where you're doing a habit because of the outcome first, then the process as a result, because you need to do the thing to get the outcome. So you think of the outcome, you do the process, and as a result, your identity changes over a time. This means we're focusing on the outcome, we're focusing on the rewards. This would be like if you're getting into the gym, you're doing it because you want to get an attractive body, so you can do degenerate activities or other things like this. Whereas the way we should be looking at business and habits in general is the other way around. We should start by choosing our identity, changing our identity to one of a person that is healthy, that works out, that grinds at their business, that is a businessman, that's an entrepreneur. We should be changing our identity first, and then of course following the process, and then getting the outcome, getting the reward. This seems like a small difference, but it really can make a huge difference, because it means we're not motivated by extrinsic rewards. We are doing the thing that we believe ourselves to be. We are reaffirming our identity. When we reaffirm our identity, we are simply just doing the thing that we already believe we are. We're simply just following the process of the thing we already believe we are. Every time we work on our business, we are reassuring our identity of a businessman, of an entrepreneur. And this way, when the outcomes come, it doesn't really affect us, because we have our identity already. And these outcomes are simply just the rewards of that identity. This is far more fulfilling than just focusing on extrinsic rewards, because it means we're intrinsically motivated. Of course, extrinsic rewards are good motivators, but we don't want them to be the majority. I like this sort of 80% intrinsic, 20% extrinsic is like a good mix, is what I believe. Because you get that extrinsic motivation, those rewards, but most of it, the majority, is from within. It's just what you enjoy. It's your identity. Because the alternative is not that great. As Jesus said to his disciples in Mark 8, verse 36, "For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?" When we do work for purely extrinsic reasons, we are losing our soul. Sure, we might have everything that the world has to offer, all the extrinsic rewards, all the material success, all the cars, the Lambos, the woman, but inside we are empty because we've sold our soul to get these rewards. And that loss of soul cannot be filled by these materialistic things. They just simply cannot. The soul can only be filled by doing what is right for the soul. You've heard the countless stories of celebrities that have obviously had this identity, but have mainly been motivated by extrinsic rewards. And you just see them spiral out of control, having mental breakdowns in some cases, in front of the whole world, and in some cases even deleting themselves. Yes, work will be important in our lives, and with the right mindset, it can genuinely be one of the funnest things that we do in our day. But let us remember that work is not the most important thing. Having financial freedom and being able to make money is just the basics. Of course, it's not easy, but this is just one thing that we need. It's just one skill. In order to be happy and fulfilled, we need far more skills than this. We need to be able to love, to have good friendships, relationships, to have good values, to pass on to our children, if we want to have children, which many of us will. To be the masculine father that we never had. There are far more skills than making money that we need to acquire to achieve the dream life that we dream of. This is something that our society has failed us in. It has put money on a pedestal. It has basically told us that our worth is determined by how much we earn, that nothing else really matters, that without money, nothing happens. Our life just doesn't work. Whilst it is important to have money and it is important to provide for the ones we love, what does it mean if those loved ones aren't there? What does it mean if we aren't able to be loving enough to keep our family together? If we're constantly taking trips to grow our wealth and growing further and further apart from our partner and our children, eventually making them so resentful of us that we're not even that important to them anymore. It doesn't feel like we love them, so they don't really feel any disconnect. What is the purpose of having such a high income if you don't have these other skills? I thought the whole point of having high income, financial freedom, is being able to take a step back. Once you have finally acquired that financial freedom, stepping back and being there for your family, being there for your wife, being there for your children, being able to actually be loving. Isn't that what it was all for? Or would you rather come home late at night, grumpy, in a bad mood, not really showing your wife or your kids love, and slowly building resentment within them until it gets to the point where they don't even want you around anymore and they don't even care that you're gone. If we can't be present, if we can't be loving, if we can't show up and be there to teach our children the values that they need to be alive, that they need to have, what's the point? Because as a man, you are far more than just a paycheck to your family. Your value as a man is not simply determined by how much money you bring home. It's also determined by your ability to be present, your ability to love, your ability to teach, your ability to just be. Forget everything else, because that doesn't matter. And just being there with your family. Income is the first step. Then you have to develop your other skills. You have to level up your skill points in these other areas. Because if you don't have a moral compass, you might make decisions that you regret. You might end up doing something that can ruin your life. A way to avoid this is to simply just weigh up the pros and cons of a certain decision. If you're about to sleep with this random girl and you have a loving marriage, what are the positives? Ejaculation. Negatives? Ruin marriage, potentially get girl pregnant, have to get divorced, lose money, lose time, not get to see kids anymore. The list just goes on. This will likely send you into very depleted mental health, depressive states even. And this just spirals further and further down if you don't break the loop, if you don't have the skills to overcome that at the first step. You hit rock bottom. I'd like to finish off this video on a more wholesome note, but a very valuable lesson. Your worth is not determined by how much money you make. Yes, it is brilliant. We should want to provide for our family. We should want our wife to not have to work if she doesn't want to work, to be able to stay at home with the children and be there for them. But the truth is that even if you make billions of dollars, eventually your family will get used to what you've gotten them. They'll get used to the $1 million mansion. They'll get used to the supercars that you drive around in. This is true. You know it's true. This is a real thing. It's called hedonic adaptation. Basically, you buy a big expensive thing. Let's say you buy this huge mansion to raise your family in. Huge boost in level of happiness. And then after a couple of weeks, this starts to go down to baseline. And it just keeps going flat. They get used to it. They adapt to it. The money no longer has any effect. So buying things, sure, can give it a boost of happiness for a tiny bit of time. It can be weeks even. But you find that the more you do it, the more you just buy things to cover up and just to make them happy, it means less and less. The spike it sort of just gets narrower and narrower each time. Until they get this, you get them a handbag, they're happy for a minute, and then it's done. Happiness from material things is always temporary. Of course, we're grateful for these things, but the happiness we get from them, the huge boost, is temporary. How messed up is your self-image if you think that the only thing you're worth as a man is a paycheck for your family? That's what your thinking is when you do this. When you work, and you're never home, you're simply basically making your life a paycheck for your family. It basically dehumanizes yourself. It literally just makes you money coming into the bank and you're not even there. You're not present. You're not able to raise your kids. What's it worth if at the end of the day they start to hate you? They stop caring about you because you're just a paycheck to them at that point. You put yourself in that position if you don't develop these other skills. And if you don't take a step back from business once you start to raise your family, I can assure you that love is far more important than anything that money can buy. Having been grown up in a household where my parents have split, never really having really masculine father that's always been able to be there, I don't know what I'd give to have my parents together and to have my father be a masculine father that can teach me the values that I need to grow, the values that I had to find from other sources. I imagine my life being much different. So yes, go make your money now that you're young. But remember to take a step back once you've got that financial freedom where you're consistently making enough money to live and you can buy that house that you need to raise your kids in. Take a step back and develop those other skills so you can make your kids have the childhood that you always wanted, the childhood that would have changed the trajectory of your life far earlier than you changed it with your self-improvement. I love you all. Now stop consuming and go create.